Hey there guys! Today I wanted to do a quick library book haul and also a try chapter tag with the books that I got. So first I want to quickly show you the books, and I don't want to say too much about it because I think in the actual try chapter part I talk about these books a little bit more, so I don't want to repeat myself a whole lot. And if you have any questions to any of these books, just leave them in the comments down below. Now, I haven't been to the library for a very long time, so I went a little bit overboard, but I had so much fun just browsing these shelves and just looking at the books that I'm interested in. Now, my library doesn't have a huge selection on English books, so these are all German translations, but they are pretty popular. So the first one is the one I'm currently reading now, which is a spoiler, I'm sorry. It's I'll Give You the Sun by Jenny Nelson, which is a book about two twins, and they are very different. The sister is very outgoing, she has a lot of friends, she's very popular, and the brother is gay and he's artistic and he doesn't really fit in. And this is about how they kind of, were really close in the beginning, but then they drifted apart and why that is. This next book is called And the Mountain Echoed. It's by Khaled Hosseini, which is an author I absolutely love. This is the only book he's written that I have not read yet, so I decided to change that. This year I read his other book last year. What's it called? Like All the Splendid Suns or something like that. Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. This book is about two siblings, Pari and Abdullah, in Afghanistan, and I love these kind of stories. I absolutely love anything that has to do with the Arab culture and these countries that have been at war for such a long time now, and yeah, it's heartbreaking and I'm really excited to read this. Then I got a sequel. This is the second book in a series by Anne Alecki. The first book is called Ancillary Justice, and this is Ancillary Sword. And I'm really excited to continue with the series, even though it is very hard to read, and I could not marathon this because I think it's a little bit tough to read. It's very difficult science fiction for me because I don't read science fiction at all. But this is about a artificial intelligence and kind of her way through this world, which is really crazy, and yeah, it's really hard to wrap your head around it, but once you're in, and it's really good. Then I have All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is a book that I feel a little bit anxious about because someone recently compared it to The Book Thief, which I did not like at all, but it's a World War II story about a blind girl in France, and I think a German soldier also in France, so I'm really interested to read this. Yeah, you'll hear more about it in the chapter tag. Then I pretty much picked this up on a whim. This is Skies by Neil Schusterman. I loved his Unwind series, and so I really wanted to read this series, but there's only 2 books out so far in English. This is the German translation of the first book, which is the only one out yet, and it's new to my library, and yeah, I picked it up on a whim. I'm not quite sure whether I'm gonna read this just because I'm afraid that there's a cliffhanger and then I have to wait, but we'll see. I just wanted to have it for a while. And the last book is a German book called Die Seiten der Welt Die Seiten der Welt by Kai Meier. This is a book that I actually own, but I don't want to keep, so I decided to get it from the library because mine is still wrapped in plastic and all that stuff, and I want to give it away. So yeah, I got it from the library just to see whether I would like this series, but so far I'm not really convinced, so I'm not quite sure whether I'm gonna actually read this, but I'll have a go at it and just see, and then I can unhaul the book that I have without any problems. So these would be all for this part. Now we're going into the try chapter tag, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hey there guys, so I'm about to head out to my balcony and I want to start the try chapter challenge now. So the first book that I will try a chapter from is I Give You the Sun by Jenny Nelson, because the weather is super nice and this has sun in the title, so it's kind of fitting. Okay, I probably don't look my best. It took me a very long time to read the first chapter of I'll Give You the Sun, but I quickly wanted to finish that now. It's almost 30 pages, so it's quite a bit. The first chapter is told from the perspective of Noah, and we also get the perspective of his twin sister, Jude, later. But for now, it's only Noah's perspective. And I did enjoy this first chapter. I'm not quite sure about the writing style. I'm reading the German translation because I got it from the library. And the writing style is a bit juvenile, but I kind of like it. I think I like his voice. I think I will like Noah. And I think this is the kind of book that I want to read right now. But I'm not quite sure, so I'm going to continue with some other books tomorrow and let you know about that. So the next chapter I want to try is All the Light We Cannot See. This is a book I've been interested in for a while. I just found it in the library. This is also the German translation. And I have heard people compare it to The Book Thief, which is a book I hate a lot. So I'm not quite sure whether I will like this, but I think I will try the first chapter in the morning and then let you know what I thought. Okay, so I probably don't look my best right now. I just got up, but before I got up, I read the first part of All the Light We Cannot See, and as I said, I'm reading the German copy, so I've read the whole zero part. This is approximately like 20 pages, I would say. Yeah, it's 20 pages. I must say, this definitely got me hooked, so I'm interested to read on. For now, it doesn't remind me of The Book Thief at all, especially since it's set in France, and The Book Thief is set in Germany, and I just find it hard to read, a book about Germany, since I am from Germany. So I think I like this one better, and I do like the writing style a lot. It is a little bit detached for now, but I kind of like that with war stories, so yeah, I definitely see myself reading this. But I think for my current mood, I'll Give You the Sun still is a little bit more fitting. So the next book I want to try out is a German book. This is actually one that I got as a gift. But it's a series, and I know that I'm not going to buy the whole series, so I will give this book away to my best friend because she really wants to read it. So I got this from the library to read it and to give her the completely new and beautiful copy. And this is called Die Seiten der Welt von Kai Meier. By Kai Meier. It's a very popular author here for young adult, but I'm a little bit worried / I don't know. I have an issue with German writers, so we'll see. So I just read the first 2 chapters of this, so it's about 20 to 30 pages, more like 20 I think. I'm not impressed so far. This is about a girl who her family is protecting like a huge library, and the first 2 chapters are basically talking about how her mother died and how she is not supposed to be in that library because it's dangerous, but she's still going. And then there's this like mold monster that she has to fight, and yeah, it's just not my cup of tea so far. I know that many people love this because it's about books in a book, but yeah, I don't know. Also, her name is Furia, and I just really don't like these kind of names. It just doesn't feel right to me to have characters that have such weird names. And I don't understand why these kind of books are not set in Germany. It's actually set somewhere in Great Britain, I think, and I really don't get that. So yeah, this one is so far my least favorite of the bunch. So next up on my list would be Scythe. I still don't know how to say this, even though I've watched tons of videos about this series. I initially thought that I would wait reading this till the series is completed. I'm sorry, you can see the litter box of the cat in the background. But yeah, I love the Unwind series by Neil Schusterman, and when I saw that they had the first book in German in my library now, I decided to just take it and just give it a go. And if I don't like the German translation, I can still, quit reading it and wait till later and buy the whole series and marathon it. But yeah, I just wanted to give it a go. So I just finished the first chapter of Scythe, which is a little bit shorter than the other ones that I've read so far. This is only about 15 pages. And this is a dual perspective book. So we have Citra and Rowan. And this first part is Citra. So we kind of learn a little bit about the world in this first chapter, which is all about these guys, which are actually the ones that bring death, because people don't die from like natural causes anymore. So yeah, with this first chapter we get quite a good feeling of what that means for the population, but also for the skies themselves. And I think this is a very, very interesting concept. But so far the first chapter was not super spectacular, and I don't know how I will like the main character Citra. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but yeah, it was okay, but I just expected a little bit more from it. So the next book I want to try is one that I think I will absolutely love, because I love all the books from this author. This is his most recent one, even though it's been a few years since it came out. The English title is And the Mountain Echoed or something like that. It's very different from the German title for some reason. And yeah, as I said, I know that I'm gonna love this book, but I don't quite know whether I'm in the mood for it right now, because his books are very dramatic and very sad, and they take place in Arab countries. I think this is Iraq. No, it's Afghanistan. So yeah, let's see. Okay, so I just finished the first chapter of this. It's about 15 pages, so also a little bit less than the other ones. But the next chapter is really, really long, so I didn't want to continue. I mean, I wanted to continue, but yeah, I stopped myself for the sake of this video. This start to the book is very interesting, because we don't actually start with the story itself. We have some siblings, Abdullah and Pari, and we start off in the 1950s in Afghanistan, when their father is telling them kind of a story before going to bed, and it's a story of a father and his love for his children, and it has a lot of like mythological creatures from the Arab world and stuff like that, and it feels really real. Last year I have read 1001 Nights, these stories, whatever they're called, and this story feels very reminiscent of that. So yeah, I love this kind of stuff, and from what I gathered from the the description of the book, these stories that the father tells are actually very important for the book, but so far I don't know what's really happening in it, apart from that these stories are very important for these children who will live through a lot of tough shit. Because yeah, you can imagine that from being the setting being Afghanistan. Okay, so I will definitely read this book soon, because I just absolutely love anything that takes place in Arab countries, and I love the author. I think his writing style is fantastic, and I think if you have not read his books, you definitely should. So the last book for now is a sequel, so maybe it's a little bit weird to put this in this tag. This is the second book in the series. I've read the first book over a year ago. The first book is called Ancillary Justice. It's by Anne Leckie, and this is a science fiction story. I have a cat hair on my face. Yeah, it's really hard to read. The writing style is very difficult, so I don't think that I will end up reading this one right now. But I wanted to continue on with this series. Again, this series, I'm not planning on getting the whole trilogy for my shelves, so I'm just reading it from the library, and I'm actually getting rid of my first book because I don't need it on my shelf. It's a very interesting series, and I think it's definitely worth picking up if you're into science fiction, but for me it's just something that is quite difficult to get into, and not like my preferred genre. But I like to explore a little bit, so I will just read the first chapter and see whether I can actually get back into this world, because I remember I really loved the ending of the first book, but it was such a struggle to get into it in the first place. Okay, so I just had the most perfect timing, because now the sun is gone from my balcony, and I just finished the first chapter of this book, which is the second book in a series, and I wasn't quite sure about this series because, as I said, I really loved the end of the first book, but it was such a struggle to get into, and it's sometimes really hard to understand what's going on. But I love the main character because the main character actually is an artificial intelligence, and before she was a spaceship, but now there's only like one part of her left, and that is like it looks like a human basically, but she still has the mind of an artificial intelligence, so you're in her head the whole time, which makes this book very special. And also another thing that I kind of like, but it's hard to wrap your head around, is that all the pronouns and stuff like that, it's all females, so it's always she, no matter what the gender of the person is. And I think in English that doesn't make such a big difference, but in German it actually really does, because you have like, for example, like citizen, you have a separate word for the female version of that, which you don't have in English. So instead of Bürger, it would actually always be Bürgerinnen. And yeah, that kind of, I don't know, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but as soon as you're really into it, it's easier. And it's just interesting to play around with that a little bit. So yeah, I was actually kind of confused how much I really enjoyed this first chapter right now, and I'm not quite sure whether I might continue this book now. Maybe I'm just in the mood for it, I don't know. It was fun. Yeah, so let me just think about the ranking, and then we'll talk about what I'll read next. Okay, so let's talk about the ranking. It's actually quite difficult because I think I really enjoyed all the first chapters. The one I enjoyed the most, and I'm pretty sure that I will give the highest rating to overall, is the book by Khaled Hosseini, which is called in English And the Mountain Echoed. Thanks so much, Kat. That is glorious. So this book, And the Mountain Echoed by Khaled Hosseini, will probably be the book that I give the highest rating to, because, as I said, I love his books. I think that he's an amazing author, and I just love the themes he talks about. Now, I think the book that I will also enjoy very much if I, get myself to actually read it, is this book by Anne Alecki. The English title is Ancillary Sword. And as I said, there's a lot that I love about this series, but it is tougher to read. So I think for now I'm in the mood for something a little bit more fluffy, but I can't wait to get into this world again and yeah, see how this adventure goes. Then on the third place, I think I will have All the Light We Cannot See. I really like historical fiction, and I do really like stories set in World War II, but I am still a bit worried because people compared this to The Book Thief, which I absolutely hated. In hindsight, like, it wasn't so bad at the beginning, but the more I think about this book, the more it just annoyed me. But yeah, I think if this is well done, I will actually enjoy it quite a bit. So yeah. Then the next book would be Scythe. So I think I might enjoy this, but the first chapter just didn't drag me in quite as much as I thought it would. I really, really love the Unwind series, especially the first book, which I think was a masterpiece when you consider like very adventurous stories that are super thrilling and incredible. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how much this book will actually drag me in, because it is quite a hefty book as well, so there is a lot of room for improvement. Just the first chapter didn't really do it for me yet. Then I'd say I'll give you The Sun, which by Jenny Nelson, which I wasn't so sure about, because I feel like somehow this might be the right book for me right now, but overall this is not what I would usually read. I'm still struggling a little bit with the voice of Noah, because on the one hand it's just a little bit too young and juvenile for me personally, but on the other hand I feel like I can connect to his character. I love reading about queer characters, and yeah, so I'm kind of torn with this one. And the book I actually don't think I will enjoy a lot, is the German book Die Seiten der Welt by Kai Meier. I think this one, I will try this, but as I said, I struggle with German authors, especially with like young adult books, and I'm just not quite sure whether this will really do anything for me, especially since the main character has such a ridiculous name. Her name is Furia Salamandra Fairfax, and names can really piss me off when I don't like them, so I think this book I won't enjoy as much. I think this one might be like a 2.5 star read or something like that. So that would be my ranking for like what I think, how I will enjoy the books. And sometimes it's weird when I think I will really enjoy a book, I'm not reading it right away just because I want to keep it for like a more special moment or something like that. So I don't think I will read the Khaled Hosseini book right away, but I'll probably read it within the next couple of months. I think what I'll actually do, I think I will read I'll Give You the Sun by Jenny Nelson. Mainly because I do own this book, but I don't think that I will keep it. So I want to read this this week so I can be sure that this is not a book that I really want to keep, and then I can, you know, sell it or give it to someone who will actually enjoy it and not feel bad about it. So yeah, also, I mean, right now the weather is beautiful, so I think a more like contemporary, kind of fluffy, youthful book would be kind of nice. But then again, the weather will not stay that nice, so we'll probably have a lot of rain next week, so I'm not quite sure whether this is a thing to go by, but for now this is what I'm gonna do, and I will read more of this tonight when I'm in the bathtub, and I'll probably show you in a monthly wrap-up sometime. So yeah, I think that would be all for this video. I'm sorry it's so casual, but for now this is just what feels right to me, and I don't know, I just thought I'd try something different. So if you did enjoy this, then leave a like or a nice comment. I always appreciate those. And if you subscribe, I will talk to you soon, maybe in a less casual setting than this.